Hello guys, how's it going? Screezilla here, I hope you're all well. So, today's video I'm just going to be talking a little bit about things Gaijin need to do. Um, it's sort of not a rant video today, it's more of a guys get your shit together because if you don't, this game will die video. Uh, you've probably seen a lot of online games die in your time. I've been part of communities that have died. I've been part of games that died. I was a huge player of Star Wars Galaxies back in the day. I adore that game. Honestly, I think it's one of the best MMOs made. It had the best skill system of any MMO where you could just do what you wanted. It had an amazing crafting system. It had an amazing house system where you could build your own houses and interiors and furniture and decorate, and it was so much fun and so different to every other MMO out there. But it died. There's quite a few games out here, things like World of Tanks, World of Warships, World of Aeroplanes, World of Planes. That's dead. That thing is dead. But the main thing is they all dying. And why is this? Well, one thing is because people are getting sick of problems. The biggest problem is the fact that the community's dying, and that is something you, as a games company and game developer, you need to fix relatively quickly. Now, Gijian are looking at doing this by introducing modern vehicles to the game, because we've had this sort of stalemate of World War II era planes for the past 3-4 years now. It's been a while, and it's been pretty much the same. But another issue is the matchmaking and generally the gameplay, and that's something that Gaijin aren't fixing. Now, for instance, here, let's look at this. I love bombers, right? I enjoy bombers. There's a small part of the community that enjoy flying bombers, right? We are a very small part of the community. There's probably 5% that enjoy bombers on a regular basis, and actually enjoy bombers for bombing purposes, not just for grinding or for ground battles. I'll get onto ground forces next. But flying a B-29, right? You look at this matchmaker. Jet. 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 Jet, 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 jet. I'm in a World War II plane. Yes, late World War II, but still very much a World War II plane, fighting planes from the 60s and 50s, fighting post-war jets. Now, my altitude and speed are irrelevant in this case because I don't have an advantage. So, I could very easily dive for my targets and try and get to the bases. These 3 bases here as fast as possible, but chances are I'll make it to the first one and then get killed at the second 2. So, what do you do when playing like this? There's not much you can do. You can just play and hope that you don't get found. You sort of just pray that the enemy don't come over to the side of the map that you're strafing to sort of get a little bit of time, so hopefully all the enemies are in this position. That's all you can do as a bomber at the moment. And then there's the fact that you're bombing bases that are just health point pools. So there's no real strategy for bombing it. It's just dropping on a couple of tents which have health points. So really, it's very unfulfilling in that respect. And that's how bomber play has been. for a long time. Fighters. Um, well, in this game, you've got people in props. Sorry. People in props. You've got a Spitfire. You've got a Griffin, but, you know, it's still a Spitfire. It's still a propeller-driven aircraft. It still has some advantages over jets in turning and things like that. But its speed is negated, and it's basically just a easy kill if you're not a super pilot. The Me-262 I'm fine with being in battles with World War II planes. I have no problem coming up against an Me-262 in a flying fortress or something like that, because, well, it happened, and that's fair enough. But the 262, it does take a little bit of time to climb it, and it's not as fast as some of the super jets that are out there. The big thing is, the 262 is nothing compared to some of the other jets that are out here. Although you will have 262s that will beat said jets, because, you know, pilot skill does come down to it quite a bit, but matchmaking is a huge problem, and that's what drives away a lot of the community. The other big problem is grinding. My last video I was talking about ground vehicles, and I had a battle where I had 11 kills in realistic battle in a 4.9 tank, grinding out a Walker Bulldog, which is 6.3, next tier above it. Now, the amount of research points I got for the 11 kills was minimal. Basically, to grind out a Walker Bulldog is going to take me about a week or 2 weeks, and that would be pretty much constant play. And that makes people leave the game, because who the fuck has time for this stuff? Really, who has time for it? Not many people. Like, there are people that do have time for it, admittedly. You know, yes, you do have time for it, but the majority of people don't have time for this kind of thing. When you're grinding up for the later BR vehicles, it just takes too long, and simply you can't do it. It's just such an impossibility for anyone that's not a hardcore player that plays pretty much every day of the week. You know, and that's a big problem, and that's a reason why the community's dying, because, well, my good friend, his name's Ed, he's actually the one that brought me to this game. He left ages ago because he works a full-time job, and he can't grind out vehicles because he works a full-time job. You know, casual players don't play this game anymore because unless they spend a lot of money on Golden Eagles, they can't actually play the game. This is a big problem. And yes, it's free to play, so Golden Eagles are an important part of the game, you know, to make money for Gijian. But so are subscriptions. Subscriptions should mean something. If you subscribe and get a premium account, then it should make your grind an awful lot easier. But it doesn't. Even with a premium account, the grind for vehicles is so atrocious that you still need Golden Eagles to basically unlock anything, and it just becomes a serious issue. So what can Gijian do to basically stop the game from dying? Well, one thing is add more variety to the game. You know, add more content, add better missions and gameplay modes. You know, add something worthwhile for bombers to bomb, add something worthwhile for tankers to play, not just death matches every single game. Make it so that there is actually a reason to play, but also make it so casual players can actually play this game. Because if you don't cater your game to the casual audience, there's no game to be played because you're not going to have players. The problem is the less players you have, the longer the wait time goes up. The longer the wait time goes up, the less players you have. Less players you have, the longer the wait time goes up, blah blah blah. And you continue on with this vicious cycle of the game basically dying a slow death because nobody has the time to play. And because nobody has the time to play, nobody plays. And because nobody plays, nobody plays. Making more vehicles, making higher tiered vehicles is not going to fix this. Making more planes and tanks for people to grind does not fix this problem. It just makes it worse. Adding more content to the game, especially a higher BR level, a higher game mode, means that there's less game modes for players. And you start to see where the problem lies, because, well, if you have to wait 5-10 minutes to get a game every single time, you're not going to want to grind for a prolonged period of time, because, well, you're going to be playing a game for, say, a good game, you know, like I'm having today, like I'm having right now. You'll be playing for 15 minutes, say. Then you have to wait 5 to 10 minutes to actually get that game in the first place. That's almost half an hour of your day gone. And people do not have half an hour to wait. People do not have half an hour to kill a lot of the time. You know, I think about getting a game in before work, but because of the queue times, I can't always get a game. So, you know, I have to... You know, you have to basically go, well, okay, I'd really love to play a game today before I go to work, but I actually can't because I'm so time poor I can't get a game and I can't enjoy it. It's just a broken system, and it's going to get more broken with more vehicles added to the game. And it is a big problem. So what can Gijian do to fix this? Well, as I said, more variety is needed. Less grinding is needed. They need to make the grind less painful. I'm not saying it should be super easy. I'm not saying, you know, after 2 matches you should unlock a tank. But, you know, after, say, 10 matches where you get, say, 5 kills, you should pretty much have a tank unlocked, or at least be halfway there. You shouldn't have to unlock items that are specifically needed for a vehicle to grind. So, for instance, a bomber should not have to unlock its payload to destroy a base. It should have enough payload to destroy 1 base whenever it's unlocked. That should be the minimum for a plane. For a tank, it should have the ability to have fire prevention equipment on board and repair kits on board at the start, or make repair kits and fire prevention equipment a purchasable consumable. Make it so it's not unlocked and researched. You know, it just really does ruin a lot of the gameplay, because you spend most of your time in a new tank trying to get FPE and parts so you can actually play the bloody vehicle. But doing that is very hard, because you get shot once and your game's over in said vehicle, so you can't grind it. It just all becomes a massive flusterclug of trying to get equipment, not being able to get equipment, getting frustrated and not playing the game anymore. They really do need to fix it, and they do need to make it less grindy, because grinding is not fun. Grinding in games kills games. Now, as I mentioned before, Star Wars Galaxies was a great game. The system where you'd unlock classes was you would play that class and unlock skills as you played it. So if you were playing a dancer, you would dance to get experience for dancing. If you wanted to be a Terrace Casse master, you would punch stuff. If you wanted to be a sniper, you would shoot things with a rifle. It made sense, and it was really fun because the grind wasn't too hard. You could become a master of those classes in about a day or 2 days of grinding, and it wasn't, terribly annoying to grind it out. The actual grind was not painful at all. It was fun to do at points, and it wasn't super boring, and you could do things to make the grind easier. But then they changed it to fall in more line with games like World of Warcraft, EverQuest, Dark Ages of Camelot, all the other MMOs out there. They made it more like everything else. And they made the grind like everything else. You had to kill 50,000 Womp Rats to get the next level of the class that you choose from the beginning. And thus grinding became a huge problem. It was boring as heck, and people left the game in droves, and the game died. And this is what's happening to War Thunder. We've got so many nations, and so many different nations in the game, and so many different vehicles in the game, that grinding them out is really painful. If you wanted to play Japanese and American, for instance, the grind is just horrendous for those vehicles. You basically spend 10 days grinding for one set of vehicles, and it's not fun. Where is the fun in grinding? There is none. The fun comes in fighting people and having fun and enjoying the game, but you can't do that when you're just grinding for a bloody vehicle. To get jets, it takes so long to get a jet, and then when you finally get it, there are hardly any games for the vehicle, so you don't play it very often. The other problem is you get a jet, say you get the Hunter, and you'd need pretty much to get it aced to be able to use it. So, again, what's the point in having that vehicle? It's so frustrating and stupid. So, in short, what Gijian need to do is make the grind less painful, maybe increase research point gain, especially for people with a premium account. Make premium accounts worthwhile, because at the moment you get plus 100 research points. That's it. And as you see, that game, I unlocked about 15% of one upgrade on a B29. Now, in all fairness, I did unlock the P51 Mustang, which is a 3.7 plane, but I only had a small amount of research points to do on that. I got a lot of convertible research points as well. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of those sitting in the bank because, well, of course I do. I've been running a premium account for like 2 years. I have a lot of these convertible research points available, but I'm not spending eagles on them for things I don't want. I'm not going to go and spend $25 to unlock a single tank. Considering there are so many, I'm not going to go and spend all of this money on, unlocking a plane. So let's look at the P-47, the Thunderbolt. So, okay, let's research that. We've got some research points in the bank. Let's see how much we've got into that. Okay, not bad. Now, planes are not a bad grind. That's the one thing about planes that's good. Tanks, on the other hand, are evil, and I dread to think what Navy's going to be like. So in that game, I've unlocked a plane and three quarters of a plane. You know, that's how it should be. That's not a bad grind at all. You know, you don't feel annoyed by grinding that. You're like, okay, well, in 3 more games, I'll have this plane unlocked. But then you get to, say, the B-57. And when you're unlocking that, well, it takes forever. You look at the difference in research points, you know, 18,000 compared to 122, whatever that number is. A lot, a shit ton, basically. And yeah, it needs to be a curve upwards. It needs to be harder to unlock later planes. But as I say, look, you know, it is ridiculous the amount of time it takes. Golden Eagles, for instance, to unlock this plane, 300 Golden Eagles, that's about $3 worth of Golden Eagles there, say. You know, to unlock about 15%. So to unlock all of it, I'd need to spend at least $15 on it, maybe $20 to unlock this. And then, of course, when you do unlock it, you've got the modifications to unlock. You start off with 9 500-pound bombs. So with those bombs, you can destroy one single base. And that's it. So then it takes a lot longer to grind out the 1,000-pound bombs, which you then need to destroy. Well, in this case, you would only be able to destroy. I think you can actually destroy 2 bases because those are the. Let me just double check. No, you can only destroy 1 base. So again, you can only destroy 1 base with that plane. So it's going to take a lot longer to research the B-57B if you use the B-57A. So you're still better off using an older plane to unlock it. But the research points you get are much lower for this plane, and it just really makes things hard and frustrating. Now, as I'm saying, for ground vehicles, it's just ridiculous. Now, I've got quite a few things unlocked. Up to tier 4, it's not too bad unlocking tanks. The curve isn't as bad as other tiers. You know, you can grind out a couple of rank 3 vehicles in a day without too much problem. But when you get to rank 4, to grind out rank 4 vehicles, it takes forever. And it's not fun, because you unlock, say, the Sherman 76, and then you've got to get your parts. You've got to get the horizontal drive, and then you've got to get the fire prevention equipment before you can even do anything really with the tank. And you'll unlock other vehicles which have rounds that don't work. I think it was the T-25, was it? Which one was it? Yeah, T-25, you get the T-33 shot, which is a solid shot, but you have to unlock the M82 shot, which is the one that you'll use most of the time, because that is the one that does damage. Solid shots do bugger all in the game, so when you unlock the T-25, you kind of can't use it, because you need that better shot to be able to use it, and it just makes no sense. And as I said, for a casual player, it puts them off, unfortunately, and that's the biggest problem War Thunder has, is casual players are put off playing it. And it's a real shame, because it's a great game, and if they had more players playing it, then there'd be less wait time, and there'd be, you know, more people playing in general. They need to take down the research point cost of vehicles. They need to make it easier to grind out vehicles. They also need to make the game have a bit more variety. It can't just be player versus player all the time. And yes, I know that they've added the Reward a Day, Assault Air, and Assault Tank mode, which are... The Assault Air is not too bad because you can actually win that one. The tank one is pretty much impossible and horrible to play in. But maybe have some modes that are different in the actual random battle game. Have escort missions, have missions where you're trying to hold a base. You know, have an actual mission where you have got a defensive line and somebody's attacking you. So you can actually set up defences and use vehicles that normally don't get used. For instance, the ASU-85, any of the SUs and ISUs, you know, the big hulking tank destroyers, you know, which... the Tortoise and the Doom Turtle and things like that, you know, which in a standard game are pretty hard to use because, you know, it takes you so long to get to the position. But if you have a game like a defending of a base, you know, they could easily put an algorithm where you get one defense and one attack every other game, you know, so people aren't stuck defending and attacking. It wouldn't be that hard to set it so it's not in that stuck in the mud system. It would add more variety to the game and make it more interesting. In air battles, you know, maybe have an escort mission for bombers, you know, so, you know, you have people playing as bombers, but you also have bombers, and the bombers have to reach a certain area and bomb out a city or a big large base or an airfield or something like that. So you've got planes protecting the bombers, but you've also got bombers bombing, and then you've got people scrambling to attack the bombers. And again, in that mode, what you could do is have one team with 0 bombers on it, all attackers, all planes that, all fighters and attackers, say, you know, so you could have it capped so you don't get any of the Russian attackers like the IL-2 and the PE-3s and stuff. It's all fighters for Russia, say, and likewise for America and Germany would have the, you know, maybe unlock the heavy fighter line, you know, have the Dornier 217s, things like that. You could even have the Duck and the ME410 ground attack heavy fighters, you know, in that sort of role, but block off so Ju-87s don't get put into those matches as fighters. It wouldn't be that hard to lock off things like that and make it so each team has fighters and bombers respectively. And it would make for a more interesting game mode. Have a mode where you have to protect ground vehicles. The only way the enemy team can win is by destroying the ground vehicles. So your team has to protect those ground vehicles. It would A, stop people from just climbing to the skies and winning by killing a whole team. B, it would make the game mode more interesting because it would give you something to do, something different than just climbing, 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 fighting, climbing, climbing, fighting, climbing, climbing, fighting. It would give a new meta to the game and it would make it more interesting. Just give us more modes, give us something more interesting, and give us reason to have players come back to the game and want to play the game. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below what you think, what ideas you have, and also if you think that, yeah, Gijian need to do something to change this up, or if you think it's fine as it is. I'd love to hear your opinions on this one. And if anyone from Gijian is watching this and listening, maybe, I don't know, please take on board some of these ideas. Let's try and improve the game and get it bigger and better and get more people playing, because the more that play, the more money you're going to get, the more people that are going to play again, the happier your player basis is going to be, and again, the more money they're going to spend. Alright guys, I'll catch you next time. This is Screezilla out. Bye bye.